Hello guys and welcome back to Game of Box Office. Today's prediction will be about the possible box office performance of Guy Ritchie's King Arthur Legend of the Sword. Let's start to talk about the facts who work in favor for a good box office performance of the movie. First of all, I want to put your attention on the production budget. With a very specific production budget of $102 million already officially announced, you can be sure that this number will not increase by a lot. It will maybe even stay on this exact number. Let's say Warner Brothers is investing something around 40 to 50 million on marketing. Then everything adds up for total costs of around $150 million. This number is actually quite manageable for Warner Brothers, and with every dollar they earn with the movie, which lies above 300 million, the studio will get money back into their pockets. A production budget of $150 to $160 million and then additional costs of 50 to 60 million for marketing would have been of no good for King Arthur, but happily Warner did the right move here to really produce the movie on a not so high budget. The next thing I want to name is the director Guy Ritchie. In the past, Guy Ritchie directed 3 movies which had a production budget of 75 million or more. Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows and The Man from U.N.C.L.E. 2 from these 3 films grossed a huge profit for Warner Brothers, while one of them flopped. Both Sherlock Holmes movies grossed over 500 million worldwide, while the studio just spent 90 million on the first installment and 125 million on the second installment. It has kind of a bad taste that Guy Ritchie's last movie, from The Man from U.N.C.L.E., bombed so hard at the box office, but overall, from all of the big movies that he directed, 66.6% of them were very successful, so it's actually more realistic to assume that King Arthur Legend of the Sword will make profit than to think that it will bomb at the box office. The next thing I want you guys to put your attention to is the current situation of Warner Brothers. After the Dark Knight trilogy is over, the Harry Potter saga has come to an end, and the Hobbit trilogy was completed in December of 2014. Warner Brothers has basically not much left right now. Actually, when you take a look at the box office this year, out of the top 13 highest grossing movies, just 2 were produced by Warner Brothers. 4 were produced by Disney, 3 were produced by Fox, 2 by Universal and 1 by Paramount, as well as 1 by Sony. Of course, Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice were far away from being low grossing movies. But when you take a realistic approach on these movies, it's pretty obvious that both of them didn't reach expectations. While the box office power of the Fantastic Beasts franchise is still unknown, because the first movie is still yet to be released on November 18th, Warner Brothers is desperately trying to push the DC Universe franchise to the top of the box office chart, but honestly, so far, it is not looking that good. But why am I talking about all of this? Warner really needs to build some other franchises for the future to have 3 or 4 safe big grossing movies every year. When King Arthur is good and most audiences and critics around the world love this movie, a successful franchise could be possible on this very old legendary character. Warner knows that, so they will do everything to push this movie to a very good quality. The next thing I want to name is the release timing. On the weekend where King Arthur is getting released, it has to face the Power Rangers movie. But since this film is aiming for a totally different audience, it will not affect King Arthur. On the second and third weekend of King Arthur's run, there's basically no competition for the movie, and on the 4th weekend there is Fast 8 to be released, which is just by fact so big that it will hurt King Arthur Legend of the Sword. All in all, that gives King Arthur a total of 3 weeks to play basically without competition. A very good situation for the movie. Now to the aspects who work not in favor for a good box office performance of the film. While I personally like the cast very much, none of these actors is a 100% audience catcher. I did a lot of predictions where the cast was actually a pro point, because the names and faces of some actors on the poster will get the box office performance up. This is actually not the situation with King Arthur Legend of the Sword. The next and last thing I want to name is the very unique style of the movie. Guy Ritchie always had a very unique style and tone in his movies, but the trailer of King Arthur looks even more unique than his last movies. This could actually bring some audiences to stay away from the cinemas, since they don't feel connected with this very new approach on the King Arthur story. Alright guys, I will now fade in all aspects I just counted who work in favor or not in favor for a good box office performance of the movie, and I will now start with the pessimistic prediction on King Arthur Legend of the Sword. When everything goes wrong with King Arthur and the movie bombs like The Man from U.N.C.L.E., I can see a box office performance comparable to Ridley Scott's Exodus from 2014. King Arthur will open with $24 million and after a multiplier of 2.3, it will finish its domestic performance with $55.2 million. On the overseas front, due to a probably very good performance in the UK, Legend of the Sword will earn roughly $220 million, for a combined worldwide total of $275.2 million. While this is not a total disaster for Warner Bros., the studio would lose around $12 to $15 million on this project. What happens when King Arthur is actually on par with the quality of Guy Ritchie's Sherlock Holmes movies? Well, in this scenario I can see King Arthur to open with $37 million. After a multiplier of 2.7, it will end its domestic performance with $100 million in the domestic market. On the overseas front, the movie will earn very much in the UK and perform a bit better in other a bit smaller markets, and therefore will finish its overseas performance with roughly $290 million overall. This would make up for a combined worldwide total of $390 million. Warner Bros. Would earn quite some money back with this cinematic release, and the home media sales would push the project to even bigger profits. When King Arthur just does everything right and the quality of the movie is close to Snatch, I can see the film to actually be a surprise hit in 2017. With an opening weekend of $55 million, King Arthur Legend of the Sword will become the second highest opening weekend for Guy Ritchie, just behind the first Sherlock Holmes. After a multiplier of 3.1, the movie will end its domestic performance with $170.5 million. On the overseas front, the movie will crush the competition and finish with around $380 million total. Combined, this would put King Arthur at $150.5 million worldwide. King Arthur would become the most successful movie of Guy Ritchie's career. Warner Bros. Would be more than happy about this result and the new franchise would be born. I personally really hope this happens. The next video will be a prediction about Inferno, The Great Wall or Ghost in the Shell. Thank you so much for watching this video guys, I really hope you liked it. If so, be sure to check out these other 3 predictions that I'll link you on the left side, right side and bottom of the frame. Also, when you like what I do here on YouTube, be sure to hit a like and subscribe to my channel. See you soon, bye bye.